It's never an easy trek to get out to the edge of the Great Salt Lake these days.
I always dread it.
We did too. After Carrie Franz, a Weber State Associate Professor, showed us how she has to carry all of her own research equipment in a waterproof pack.
All right.
A journey that just months ago would have been made wading through the shallow depths, not walking along a seemingly rocky shoreline that's ever increasing.
But I love taking people out to see the lake because it's such a beautiful place. Even now that it's dying, it's still this just stunningly, this quiet, beautiful space. They're all microbialites, all of these lumpy bits.
Carrie has come to appreciate these saline waters over the last several years. She enjoys monthly journeys to the northern shores of Antelope Island, which truly has become a desert island, emphasis on the desert.
I'm really worried about fixing things right now because we're at this tipping point.
As water levels of the Great Salt Lake reach all-time lows again, making it an island in name only during this mega drought.
It's like a little biosphere.
Samuel Ramsey has spent even more time out here. He's a Utah transplant from a quarter century ago, spending most weekdays hiking 5 to 10 miles around this rough end of the island that doesn't seem to be home to much other than the longtime residents that don't like visitors like us disturbing their day-to-day routines.
This area, for the casual observer, doesn't seem like much other than the bison herd.
Samuel and Carrie have one thing in common. They are concerned the recent drastic changes to the lake will be irreversible.
So this area has gone from just like the tips of some of these microbialites that you see here sticking out of the surface, like, that much, to now we have this huge expanse that's all bleached out and dying.
Bleaching is one problem, but another color is just as concerning.
These salty pink pools are what's left behind of what was a thriving, vibrant biological landscape here. And as recently as, not years ago, but just months ago, all of this was covered in water.
And this landscape needs that blanket of water for protection.
These are structures that are built by microorganisms that live in the lake.
Microbialite mounds make for what looks like a dusty, sandy, somewhat solid surface of rock, or at least some familiar-looking geologic formations of some kind. But that is the true deception of this Dead Sea. It's anything but.
Get some stuff out. These are sampling supplies and instruments.
Carrie takes samples from these mounds that, while gray in color at first, are really teeming with life and photosynthetic activity.
That's alive. This here is alive.
Green proof of a living ecosystem just centimeters beneath the surface.
Every month I come out here, I characterize the environment and also take samples of the microbialites to monitor how healthy they are.
She'll segment and measure pigments of this biological matter back in the lab. But the bigger question for this shrinking but still massive body of water, just how salty can it get? And for how long before life on the Great Salt Lake is choked out of existence? The ocean, for context, is about 3.5% salinity. The Great Salt Lake would thrive between about 5 and 15%.
The more salt that's in the sample, the more the light bends, the more it refracts.
Today's samples from White Rock Bay, well over 18%, meaning life here cannot survive at this level of salinity.
We're at this point where we can't wait any longer. We can't let the lake continue dropping without seeing some really severe consequences.
Conservation efforts are in place, and the legislature is passing new laws to protect the lake and get water flowing from our mountains to the basin once again. But whether or not it's enough to save these mounds that made up the building blocks of life billions of years ago, that's something only time and a whole lot more water will tell. Reporting from Antelope Island, Dan Spindle, KSL 5 News.